Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Speed Street Podcast. We appreciate your listenership. If you're listening, if you're new, hey, welcome. If you're watching on the YouTube, hey, subscribe to the channel. That helps us a lot. It helps the whole world, helps IndyCar racing as a sport. If you enjoy it, like the video as well, leave us a comment. Say, hey, I like this part. Or, hey, your guest was neat. Or maybe not. That's fine, too. This week, we have a great guest, another Swede. We are sticking with the Swedish theme over the last couple weeks. We had Felix Rosenqvist, obviously, last week. This week, we have Indy 500 champion, Marcus Ericsson. I'm sure you were like, oh, maybe is this Kenny Brack? No, Marcus Ericsson, another Swede that won the Indy 500. Really, really cool chat with Marcus. I think you guys will really enjoy it. A lot of IndyCar chatter. Also, maybe, hey, what happened in Formula One? What was that like? How was that experience? So I think you'll enjoy it. It's been a while since we talked to Marcus. If you're a newer fan of this show, you probably have not seen it. I interviewed Marcus a long time ago on this show, and obviously he didn't get a win last year, so we didn't get to interview him, but maybe he will this year, and we'll get to interview him. Chase, I know that your town of New Orleans is getting all jacked up for the Super Bowl. A lot of activities going on down there. What's the scene over there?
A lot of tourists coming in. They're getting just basically bombarded with hand grenades, falling asleep on the streets. Just a lot of cops are on their toes. We'll put it that way. The locals just finding cool ways to just make that paper out there on Bourbon Street. So it's a good time for the city of New Orleans. Right now, I will say that much. There's been some funny videos that have came out, but I'm very excited to hear that we will have some IndyCar presence at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Have you heard about this, Connor?
Well, I know Jack Harvey's sponsor, Invest, I believe, are doing some sort of a private event or something down there, and they'll have a show car, so that's good.
That's all we cared about.
Yeah, I'm actually still curious. I don't know if they're sending any drivers to the Super Bowl. I could see IndyCar being like, hey, Pato, hey, Joseph, go to the Super Bowl and be like a representative or be in a suite or something. My bet is that someone from IndyCar as a driver will be at the Super Bowl.
Why not you? Why not you? So that because I'm already here.
I can't afford it. I'm not cool enough. All the above. So.
Fox, send Connor to New Orleans so we can hang out.
I don't have a commercial, so they don't need me down there.
We're gonna make one in New Orleans for you. Like, we're gonna make this happen. I have to believe that we can achieve.
That's true. Yeah, I'm excited for the Super Bowl though. Can't wait to see it. I'm not really excited about the teams there, but like we said before, we know that Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift are IndyCar fans, so we kind of have to root for the Chiefs.
Do you think that they'll do the engagement? That's what a lot of people are talking about.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I feel like that would be a tough place for celebrities of that nature just to be like, hey, we're going to do it right here on the field. No, I'm sure they're going to do something if they choose to be engaged. Let's not rush people. If they choose to be engaged, then, hey, I'm sure they'll do it on their own time. But I don't know.
Personal choice.
It would be a wild story if they chose to do that at the Super Bowl.
Jackson Square is beautiful this time of year.
There you go. There's a few IndyCar news nuggets to chat about, but I would also like to say that I did yoga this morning with Alex Palou.
Whoa!
So if you thought that was on a bingo card of things that were gonna happen this week, check it off. Yeah, Alex Palou and I did some yoga, nice early morning yoga together at our gym. Am I a yoga guy now? Maybe. I don't know. We're just trying to be athletes. If Alex Palou's doing it, I got to do it too. That guy's a champion. So, showing up to the yoga center, doing yoga, IndyCar yoga.
What poses did you do? Did you do a lot of child's pose?
There was some child's pose. There was the downward dog and the upward dog, the thing. And then you had like the lizard or scorpion or something. I don't know. All kinds of different things. The warrior, you got the warrior and the reverse warrior and the mountain pose, a couple things like that. A lot of things that I'm learning. So shout out yoga. It was a good tune up for the body. And if you didn't know, we're out here doing yoga. So shout out to the yoga folks out there.
Transcendental meditation coming up next.
It's very good. So we're getting our bodies dialed in. I am honestly so sick of being at my house. I can't wait to do something with a race car, with a motor racing vehicle. I'm going stir crazy. Yesterday, for fun, I just decided that I wanted to test if I was addicted to coffee, because I love coffee. Every day, black coffee, obviously because I have diabetes. I can't add any exciting things in there like sugar or milk or cream or whatever that is. And I was like, you know what? What if I just go a day without coffee? Will I get the shakes or whatever? Turns out I don't think I'm addicted because I didn't get any shakes. I felt okay. Right. But I don't think it made me feel any better, so I'm back to coffee. So today, coffee day. You were a tired
guy yesterday.
Love coffee. But I figured I would let everyone know that I didn't die. I am still alive after going without coffee for a day. It is possible. I did not know that. But anyway,
big news.
Speaking of IndyCar news nuggets, let's go over some of the test results from Thermal last week. There was a test that happened. Now, there was the Andretti Autosport team, Andretti Global, Andretti, capital of the world, Andretti everything. They were there along with the Prema team, and then Jacob Abel with Dale Coyne Racing. I was with Jacob Abel just 2 nights ago. Chatted with him at dinner. I had me and Spencer Piggott, Jacob Abel, Lockie Hughes had some dinner. Some young drivers chatted about all kinds of things. But Marcus Ericsson was the quickest, and then a lot of people saw some. Now again, there's 6 cars that were running. Okay, so let's keep our pants on. Let's not go crazy. But the Prema cars were apparently right behind Marcus Ericsson. And then, I don't know the exact results, but the Prema cars were there. They were faster than Colton and Kyle. But look, I can promise you at these tests, there's all kinds of things going on. But if they were that close, that means that, hey, there is something there to be excited about, to be like, oh, our eyes are going to be like, oh, all right, that's good. They weren't, 2-3 tenths off the pace, which I think probably a lot of people would have expected them to be. But you got to also remember that the JHR cars were quite quick there last year. Romain Grosjean was quite decent at Thermal last year at the exhibition race. And they also now have one of our engineers, Steve, who probably just was like, hey, we got a good setup. Let's bolt that sucker on. Now, you can do that, but there still has to, are the dampers different? What are they? So, again, great job for that team for being right there on the pace. Very curious to see how Sebring goes. They also went to Laguna Seca. I think as a new team, you do get extra testing. I didn't know
to,
but they were also at Laguna Seca testing as well. Just those 2 cars. Unless I don't know, I don't follow Robert Schwartzman on the internet yet, so I don't know if he was. I assume he was there too, because if Callum's there, he's probably there. So they've got to do already 2 days of testing before they go to Sebring. So the Prema cars will definitely have the most amount of track time before we get to St. Pete. This year at least. So good for them. I mean, a new team, I'm sure we'll need something like that. But don't be surprised if they show up at St. Pete locked in, ready to go. Those guys, the drivers are going to be locked in. They're going to be, in the car, ready to go. A lot of us will have about 1 day in the car instead. So it's going to be interesting to follow, but good for them.
They have no excuse if that's the case.
Well, look, we got to give them some time. Again, like I said, new teams, they deserve some time to get used to it. But a lot of people are setting their standards pretty high now, so they look cool. They have spent a lot of money on cool trucks and trailers and media announcements, so
they're all in.
Standards are set high, but good for them. Appreciate what Prem is doing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. There was also an announcement of some kind of restructuring at Penske. That was a wild one. Tim Cindric steps down, no longer a day-to-day kind of leader. That was an interesting one. I thought I would see Tim Cindric kind of in that position, for the next 30, 40 years. I don't know, 100 years.
That was the mind-blowing thing, dude. I mean, like there's no sugarcoating around it. When I saw that this past weekend, I almost didn't believe it. Like, it didn't register with me properly. Like, I read it and I'm like, okay, this is here. This is real. But it's like, I didn't even question it anymore. I was just like, yeah, right, whatever. Now it's sunk in and it's like, okay, why? Like, I think that's where I'm at. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, I'm very curious to know what that decision was all about. Obviously, last year we know that there was some stuff, some chaos, maybe some
things,
some sketchy activities that were discovered, and some things that yes, Penske broke the rules. Maybe there needed to be a leadership change. I don't know. I like Tim Cindric a lot. I like Austin Cindric a lot. I like the Cindric family, great people. Tim is a great human being, and you know what? Everyone has their timing for what they want to do, and maybe Tim's got some things he wants to do. So
I'm sure we'll hear more about it as the season goes on. Like, obviously people have to ask more questions. Like, he's gonna probably be around more media people at some point this year, and I would suspect that we'll try to get a little bit more clarity on that whole situation. But I
believe he's still going to be on Joseph's car, as far as I know. He's still going to be there, be involved, but maybe not just the alpha overlord of everything.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. But other than that, cool paint schemes revealed by Andretti.
Oh my God!
I like the Chili's car. The Chili's car looks great. I'm pumped about the Chili's car. The Bryant car, Marcus Ericsson's car, who's going to be on our show today. Bryant, that reminds me of Indy cars of old. Bryant used to support a couple other drivers back in the day. I believe it was like Mark Dismore or I just remember the Bryant heating and cooling car. I think it was Al Unser Jr. even as well in the Bryant car or something like that. Someone will have to correct me on that. But cool to see that livery. Just the black and red is very iconic. Bryant, for some reason, always reminds me of an IndyCar sponsor. Like, I feel like I'm always going to see Bryant on a car, so that's cool to see them involved in the sport. And then Colton's car, again, Gamebridge, not too dissimilar from what we saw last year. Just a classic, hey, Gamebridge, Colton Herta, this guy's probably going to be winning races. So
that Mobile vibes.
But I love the Chili's car. I mean, we got to see more of the Chili's car.
Yeah. How many races do they have that for, by the way? Do you know?
think it's just the first one. Just the first one as of now.
Man, Chili's needs to really, like, I hope that a lot of people go to Chili's after their first race so that we can have more Chili's car for Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah.
Because
we need everyone to go to Chili's to support Andretti Global.
Yeah. I'm going to Chili's, dude. I'll be there.
I love Chili's. Look, I don't think it's unfair to say that Chili's is a reasonably priced, delicious establishment, and shout out them for supporting motorsport.
Absolutely. That's the big one right there. Where we don't have as many of these big restaurants that are coming into racing. We need them.
We need them.
All right. Thank you, Chili's.
All right. Well, I think, we really don't have a ton to talk about news-wise. There is still a Dale Coyne Racing driver to be announced, so we don't know that yet. That's still the big news item that I believe everyone is trying to find out. But we are finally getting closer. Once we get through the Super Bowl, I hope we see an amazing IndyCar commercial at the Super Bowl at some point. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm sure there will be something. And then once we get to next week, we're finally kind of, all right, now we're 1 week from getting in the car, and so things are getting closer and closer to happiness. I appreciate those who did listen to me and said, hey, they tweeted at Polka Dot and say, Polka Dot, we appreciate you supporting Connor. Let's keep it rolling. That is still going all according to plan, so we'll keep the vibes alive, keep everything rolling.
You guys are the best.
We want to have Polka Dot on the side of our car at some point this year, and that is in progress. So we've got a lot of cool announcements still, I think, for me personally and for our partnerships that'll be coming like later in the month of February, closer to St. Pete. So stay tuned for those as well. But with that, let's get to a Indy 500 champion, a man from Sweden, Marcus Ericsson. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very lucky this week to have an Indy 500 champion on our show. Marcus Ericsson. It must feel pretty cool to, like, pretty much you can go anywhere now, and that is a title that is the coolest thing ever. I mean, you were a Formula One driver for quite a while, which is awesome. Like, Formula One, hey, cool, we all love that. Drive to Survive, sweet. But, like, Indy 500 champion, Marcus Ericsson, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my friend?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good. I like you say, F1 driver is cool, but I take 500 champion any time of the week. So it's it's one of the cool things. Like I say, winning that race. What is one of the coolest things is that I can forever call myself a 500 champion, and I think that's one of the biggest things with it. To be honest.
Oh yeah. The history. I mean, everything about it is. I mean, it's just you cement yourself in motorsport legacy for forever, and you got the ring, you got the baby Borg, an incredible thing. So, like, just talk about life a little bit. We had your fellow Swede Felix on the show last week, so we're continuing the Swedish tradition. But tell us about life after being an Indy 500 champion. Like, we're going to get a little bit into more motorsport detail, but what was life like after winning that race?
It's everyone told me before, I would say that if you were to win the 500, it's a life-changing thing, and I agree with that. I mean, afterwards it was pretty flat out. The strange thing for us with the 500 is obviously it's in the middle of the season, so like you win the 500 and then like 3 days later you're in Detroit driving the race there, which was like surreal. But to be honest, after that, it's like a year of celebrations. I think, you get to do so many cool things, so many cool events. One of the coolest things for me as well was that I got to bring the Borg Warner Trophy to Sweden.
I saw that.
It's very lucky, that IndyCar and Borg Warner and everyone that made it possible, that was such a cool thing. And, we had it for a week in Sweden, celebrating with family and friends and fans. And it was just like an amazing thing to do. And that really showed as well. There was thousands and thousands of people coming out to see the Borg Warner Trophy, to celebrate it, to congratulate me. And I think that shows as well that the 500, how big it is here in America and Indiana is obviously one thing, but even worldwide, it's such a huge event and huge sporting thing that it was really cool to see that at home as well.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I mean, obviously the Indy 500, we know it's the largest event in the world, no matter what, by a long way. But to hear the respect across the world too, when you go there, bring the trophy, I mean, it's just beautiful to see. What do you think was your coolest thing you got after the, obviously you get the ring, you get the baby Borg, but what's is there anything really random that you got that someone gave you, hey, here's your, you won the Indy 500. I remember Alex Rossi, he got a musket. He got an old gun that was all done up he won the Indy 500. Was there anything random or cool that you got for winning the Indy 500?
I'm trying to think now.
Like a key to Sweden or anything like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Key to Sweden.
I'm running the place now. No, I don't know. I'm probably not allowed to say it, but that car I got was pretty sick.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. The other manufacturer,
I cannot say what car it is, but the
pace car.
Yeah. That's pretty sick.
And do you drive it much? Do you like to give it a drive?
On a nice day, sunny day, I'll take it out for a spin. But yeah, I mean, then there's a lot of other cool. I mean, the Borg Warner, the baby Borg is always gonna be, that is pretty, pretty sick to use. I find myself just walk by it and sort of look at it every now and then and just be like, yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I mean, that's pretty sweet.
Kind of an accomplishment.
Yeah. It's it is just surreal still. Even a few years later, it still is very surreal.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Well, I hope to imagine what that's like at some point, or hope to be able to enjoy it. But let's get on to where you're at now. I mean, your stint at Ganassi, obviously an incredible team, an incredible organization. But now you're with the Andretti Autosport. Well, Andretti Global, Andretti, whatever it is, the Andretti powerhouse operation that is Formula One, Formula E, IndyCar, everything, all the above. What was that transition like for you initially? I mean, now you're kind of freshly into it, and all right, new place, new scenes. What was that transition like?
I mean, it's always tricky to some extent when you change teams, especially when you've been somewhere for quite a long time. So for me,
a very good place too.
Yeah, I mean, Ganassi is definitely one of, if not the best team, in the series. So, coming from 4 years there and good success, obviously winning the 500, but also winning multiple races and finishing up front in the championship, it's definitely a challenge to change teams. I think coming to Andretti, though, was a big boost with the way they are pushing to, grow the team, what they want to do, Dan's vision with the team, everything was a great opportunity for me. It's fair to say the first year was definitely a disappointment results-wise. I think feeling-wise, feeling at home in the team and sort of that side of things was fantastic, but the results wasn't really there. Hence why I'm super motivated for this year 2, going into year 2 after that first year, because also me as a person, I'm the kind of guy that I like to know the people, know the routines, know the, all these things. I like to know that before I can perform at the highest level. And I feel like I laid all that groundwork last year. So I'm really excited about sort of seeing the results of that this year.
And it was pretty unlucky too. Yeah. Like, you poor guy at the 500. I mean, oh my gosh, like that, like you couldn't have been less lucky. So it can only be better this year, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to blame bad luck, but yeah, we didn't have much good luck. Let's put it that way. There was a lot of things, it was always something, and that's right. That's sometimes you have years like that.
Racing's
right? Like
hard.
Some things, but sometimes
hard.
Things just starts going against you, and then of course, another thing goes against you. You get taken out, or the engine blows up, or like there's always feels like if you get into a bad spiral, it's usually takes a while to get out of it. So yeah, I'm thinking I got all that bad stuff out of the way last year, and we're on to something good this year.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, now I was wanting to ask you, now that you're over here at Andretti, what's the relationship like with you, Colton, and Kyle off the track? How is that? How's kind of that? I guess the elements of the relationships. Do you think that they will be strong enough and working when you're on track this year? Like how is that going to translate?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the big positives coming to Andretti, that relationship with Colton and Kyle. It's two really good guys and obviously tremendous drivers, super talented, super fast, but we get along really well outside the track as well. So, we work well together. We even hang out together outside the track, which is, it's not needed to be like friends with your teammates, but I think it definitely helps if you are and you actually enjoy each other's company. So I think that's been a big positive, and going into a year 2, again, like going into a year 2 with the same core group of, same drivers, core group of engineers, it's really going to be a big thing for us. And yeah, I had a lot of fun last year, and I think it's a team as well. The team had a great year. Colton second in the championship. Kyle had his best year in the championship. So I think, my results wasn't the best, but as a group, as a team, we were making big strides. So that's something I'm excited about building on that for this year.
Keeping
you
synergy
three dudes
built
are some of the best dudes out there too. Like I respect like Colton, Kyle, and you. Like it's just good dudes being good drivers. You know what I mean? It's a great team, and it's impressive. It's fun to be part of that group, like you said, like I feel like we're super competitive, but we're still like, we want each other to succeed. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you're in teams and you're like, oh, I really, want to do well. And I don't want my teammate to do as well kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously racing is stuff like that, but I still want to beat Colton and Kyle, for sure, but I still want them to do well. So I think that atmosphere is really good.
That's
what
healthy.
What makes Colton so fast? Like I think Colton has some raw speed that sometimes you're just like, how did he do that? You know what I mean? Like when you look at his data or when you see the way he drives, has he been? Where has he ranked when it comes to teammates? Because obviously you've had Scott Dixon as a teammate, you've had very good teammates, but there's something about Colton that I feel like is just raw speed. What does that look like as a teammate to him?
Yeah, I think you're touching on it. I think that's sort of raw talent. I think he's one of the best I've been up against. I think he even sometimes doesn't know himself how he can be so fast in a certain corner combination or something. He's just got that sort of feel for things. And also something I feel like with Colton, he's very good at adapting to different situations. Like the track changes, it's different conditions or different, track grip goes up or down. Like he's very good at adapting to different situations, and I think that makes him really really good. And then also I feel like when he gets into his sort of zone or whatever, he can just do things with a race car that's very few people can do. So he's definitely up there as one of the best teammates I've raced against.
You think he can go to Formula One?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's got the talent for it. I think that's no doubt about that. He's got the talent for it. And then we all know F1 and IndyCar is two very different type of cars to drive with tires and tracks and everything. But I have no doubt that he could do a really good job there.
I agree. Well, let's look ahead at this year, right? We've got, honestly, probably one of the most competitive grids I think we've ever had in this series, with the several of the teams. Obviously, Ganassi went down a car. People have just kind of moved around, but you've still got 27. You've got the Prema operation that have come in. Obviously, those are two good drivers. I mean, what's your kind of? I don't like asking people to set expectations, but what do you feel like is going to be? Who's going to be at the front of the grid? Is it going to be the same cast of characters, and is it, hey, we're going to win again in St. Pete, Marcus Ericsson style, and start the season strong?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the goal. I think last year was my first winless season in a while, I think since 2020. So it's definitely time for another win, and St. Pete has been a good place for me. So yeah, that sounds good to me. But yeah, apart from that, like I say, I think the grid is just getting more and more competitive. When I came into the sport in 2019, I would say it was maybe 12 really good cars kind of thing, like 12 cars drivers combinations, whereas now it's like I would say 20 or even more. That's like on a given day, if things fall their way, they can win, and I think it's pretty spectacular, and I think pretty unique in the racing world as well. I don't think there's any other series where you have like 20 drivers that actually can win a race. So that's pretty cool, and that keeps you you have to be on your toes and get everything right to be up there. But yeah, I think that obviously Palou, I think, is the guy to beat. I think he's been the class of the field the last few years together with Ganassi. So I think he's still, for me, the sort of favorite. But I do think that obviously Dixon is Dixon, and then, the Penskes is always strong. I think we and Andretti, all three of us, is going to be up there. It would be interesting with McLaren as well, with Lundgaard. He's a super fast guy, and him in a new environment there, what he can do. And then there's always some surprises as well. So that's what I mean. Like it's already like 12, 15 people there that I've counted up. That's really good. So it's going to be an interesting season.
You're one of the only ones that have actually been in the car in the 2025 year. You guys had a test last week, I believe, at Thermal, and Prema was there too, and people were impressed with Prema's speed. How did that test go for you guys, and were you impressed with the two Prema drivers?
It went really well for us. I think for me, it's pretty crazy how it is. It's probably the same for you, Connor, but like last time I drove an IndyCar on a road course was in August. So it's like,
same,
it's like 6 months ago. Yeah, it's like 6 months ago.
So long.
And so yeah, it's good to know that I still remember how to turn right with an IndyCar as well, and not only turn left, since we had just ovals there and then. So it was good just to get the rust off. I think, to be fair, like the first morning, I needed a few runs to sort of get back to things. And also when you've been out of the car for a while, you realize when you jump back in that like, oh wow, these things are fast. Like these things are like, this is a fast race car. Yeah. So yeah, the first run I was like, oh my god, this is pretty cool. But yeah, so I needed a few runs in the morning, and then after that I sort of got into the groove again. And then I think the afternoon was really productive for us. We went through the test program and you sort of get out there and doing some pit stops and just getting things up and running again. I think that was the main thing for us. And also Thermal, even though it wasn't a points paying race last year, it was still a kind of race weekend last year, and we were pretty bad there. And like as a team, that was like one of our worst weekends of the year. So we wanted to go there and sort of try and get a better base setup to when we come back there, since it is a points paying race this year. So I think we did that as well. We definitely were a lot more happy with the cars going away from that test. And then, coming back to the Prema question, I think they were really impressive. Like, super competitive. I think lap time wise, they were right there on the pace. Didn't have much issues. I think Callum had some issues in the morning, but then he was out running fine in the afternoon. So I think, they'll do a good job. Obviously, they are a powerhouse team in Europe. They are super good over there. We all know IndyCar is very different, but I think they will do a good job, and I'm wishing them the best.
Chase, I'll let you jump back in here.
Yeah, Marcus, you were talking a little bit about like things out of your control and at the Indy 500 that you had like last year. I wanted to know what's the most ridiculous racing superstition that you've ever heard, and do you have any of your own?
I have one. I'm not gonna name, but I know a driver who he wouldn't stay at hotel rooms that had it had to be even numbers on the hotel room. So if it wasn't an even number, he couldn't stay there. And at one hotel, it was fully booked, and he checked in at like midnight. He only had one room, and it was a odd number. And he had to leave the hotel and try and find a new hotel like at midnight.
No way.
Oh my God.
Because he wouldn't stay there.
This dude was deep in it.
That's the one quite extreme. Myself,
I want to know who that is. Is he an IndyCar driver, or is this a Formula One driver?
It's an ex-IndyCar driver.
Okay, all right.
He can do some digging.
Okay.
But for me, I think I decided quite early in my career to not have any, to be honest, because things like that. Like, I don't want to be out looking for hotel rooms in 2 a.m. before a race.
Yeah, no, it's a
something.
little counterintuitive,
Yeah. So I'm just trying to, I don't really have any, to be honest. No, nothing really, which is good.
But good. Keep the mind clear, baby.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
I think right now I want to ask a little bit about Formula One, because you were there, and you were there. You were in Drive to Survive, and
season 1.
Yeah, I mean, but it was before it got to where it is now. You know what I mean? And it's fascinating to see what the sport became, because like I remember racing into in GP2. Like, we were all like, hey, we all want to be F1 drivers. You made the step. You became a Formula One driver, and I mean, when you look back on that time, and I guess when you look at the sport when you were in it compared to now, does it blow your mind to see what it has become, certainly here in America? And like, do people ever come up to you and not realize that you were a Formula One driver as well, if they're like all crazy talking about F1 and just going nuts about it?
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty crazy to see how much the sport has grown. Like, F1 has grown since I left. I mean, like I said, I was there the first season of Drive to Survive, and I remember then there was a lot of, I think all the top teams didn't participate. I think it was Red Bull and Mercedes and Ferrari. They didn't participate in that first season because they were like, we don't want to do that, whatever. That's, that's BS. We don't need to do that.
Big mistake.
And then, but yeah, it definitely, I think that was sort of what kicked things off, and then it's just been growing since then. I think I always say I missed the window by a few years. I should have moved my window a little bit, and I would be like a superstar now. Now I'm just like I said, missed the window a bit. That's okay. But yeah, I think it is very different. I know, a few drivers still there, and I speak to them, and they say as well, it's very different to back then. And now in a race weekend, they can't really go out and have dinner. Like, if they like, they're superstars. Like when I was there, it was like, it was a lot of fans, but now it's like proper superstars, all of them, all F1 drivers. So it's definitely changed a lot, and it's cool to see. And I always say, that's a good thing for us as well in IndyCar. Like, we need to take that interest from young people, they're interested in racing, and build on that. And I think Will coming over, who is a big star of the Drive to Survive, Will Buxton, I think that should hopefully help us as well, help our profile. And obviously the Fox thing is a big deal for us. So I think it's cool to see, and I'm hoping that the IndyCar can follow along there.
What do you think, looking back on your Formula One career? Because again, pretty cool to be in Formula One, right? Like, I just thought getting to drive one of the cars was an amazing experience. I obviously didn't get very far, but like, still pretty cool to have driven a Formula One car. But when you look back at your Formula One racing career, what do you think is your highlight of your favorite race in Formula One? What was your favorite Formula One racing event that you did, whether it's how you finished or the race in general? What do you think?
Yeah, on a personal side, I think probably in my last year, 2018, when I scored points there, I'd been like, we had a really bad year the year before. We didn't score any points. I think I didn't score any points for like 2 years or something. We were really struggling financially in the team, and we were really in a bad spot. And then in Bahrain there in 2018, I finished 9th, I think it was. And it was the first point for the team in a long time, and beat Leclerc, who was my teammate then, and scored the first points there for Alpha. And that was a big moment for me and felt pretty much like a win. That was pretty sick. Then I think apart from that, Monaco has always been cool. Like, obviously the race itself is maybe not the coolest, but the whole event is just so unique, so different. So it's just cool to have done that.
For sure.
Monza is always a highlight for me. Just walking into that park there and the atmosphere and all the like Ferrari fans, the Italians with their passion is always something I always had, enjoyed. So yeah, that's the cool thing with F1, which I miss a little bit. It's just to travel to all the different places and seeing different cultures, and it's that was something I really, really enjoyed.
You're telling me that like traveling to the Hungaroring is not the same as going to the Milwaukee Mile? I don't get it.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm confused.
No, but that's I always said that to people when I was in F1 or looking back at F1. Like my favorite thing and the thing I disliked the most is the same thing, and that was the travel. Like it was just like super cool, but it was also I was like traveling for like most of the year every year, so it's pretty crazy. But it was cool to see so many places.
Yeah, no, it is really it's awesome to look back on, and it's very proud to be able to say that you did that. I think it's super cool, and I do hope we get some more guys from Formula One to try the Indy 500 at least, right? Like I know that when we had Fernando come over, like he enjoyed that so much, and I think when Grosjean obviously has been over, the respect that I think everyone has for how difficult our series is, right? Like you get it. This area of the sport, IndyCar, is so competitive and so close. Talk about the difference in mindset, right? Because in Formula One, you kind of knew where you guys were going to be, sort of.
Yeah.
You knew that the teams are not on the same level, whereas IndyCar, you kind of, wherever you start, you might be in a completely different spot by the end of the weekend, good or bad, and you might have a shot at winning any race, depending on how it all goes.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the tough things for me in F1. I was there 5 years, and not once in those 5 years did I knew I would not going to win. Like, I knew I needed like 10 cars to crash if I was going to win. Like it was not, it was
Snow
not
and
realistic.
rain,
Yeah. So like that for the mindset, for your mental side of things, because, like Connor, like all your junior career, all you were thinking was to win, right? That was your mindset every weekend. I need to win. And then you get to your ultimate goal, and suddenly it's like, all right, got to get P14 today. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, like how does that affect you as a driver? Like it
was
can't
really
be
tough.
Good.
It was tough. Like the first few years, you're so like excited to be in F1, so I didn't really care so much. It was just super cool. But then like after a few years, it's like, this is really tough. Like I want to win again. I want to have that feeling to fight for wins. At least feel like I have the chance to do it. It's one thing to maybe not do it, but at least know in yourself that like I can win if I do everything right. If the team, like that was really hard to not even have that feeling. And I remember coming to IndyCar, that was one of the coolest things coming to IndyCar, to actually know that, we can win again. Like there is a chance to win races again. It's not going to be easy, but there is a chance. And that was really tough for me in my years in F1 to just like year after year, just knowing, like you say, Connor, you have like a bracket there where it's like, okay, we are between 10 and 14, or we're between like 14 and 18. You always had like a bracket of positions where you knew you would be. So that was tough and took a toll on me mentally for sure.
Well, hey, you found the right place to be successful, because Indy 500 champion now. We're all in a great spot. Who do you think in our series is the worst person to race against?
I think it's got to be that Connor guy.
Oh, man. Come on now.
Oh, Lord.
I thought I was out there respecting people.
No, I think everyone is pretty fair, to be honest. There's a few aggressive. I think most of the younger guys that they can be some,
Bunch
aggressive
of psychos. Yeah.
Yeah, that young generation of drivers coming off, they are pretty aggressive. I feel like every year, I think you probably agree, like Connor, I think we've talked about that, but like a lot of these young guys, they come up and they're so aggressive. And I feel like some of us a little bit older guys, we might have a bit more respect in another.
It is a bit of a different vibe. Yeah, like some people, when you're racing against a bit more of like racing against Scott Dixon is never like, oh, that was crazy. It's like, no, what he did was very smart, or like everything about it is a different vibe compared to like if you're racing Rinus VeeKay. Like, and Rinus is very good, but again, kind of just
I think it's a generation
vibe.
Thing. I think it's a generation thing as well. Like the young guys coming up now, I think they're used to race in a different kind of way, and it's just like a lot more aggressive and in some ways stupid as well, I would say, because like they would, fight you in a very strange way for like positions that, you shouldn't be fighting for that kind of way, like you fight for P14 like you fight for a win, and it's just like, hey, what are we doing here? We're just like ruining both the races fighting for P14. So
let them go sit in F1 where you were at for a minute, like let them see how they feel,
I want to get your Indy 500 predictions for this year. You can pick yourself, that's fine, but I like to ask people, give us a top 3 for the Indy 500 this year, because I think it's going to be extremely competitive. I think it's going to be really cool to see a wide range of drivers. Obviously, I think like there are still ones that we don't know about, but most of them we know. So give us a top 3 for the Indy 500 this year in no particular order. Doesn't have to be winner, doesn't have to be just top 3.
Yeah, so I'll be in the top 3 for sure. Like I need to bounce back after my win and my second place, and then last year's disaster. I gotta be back up front. So I'm gonna pick myself as one of the 3.
All right.
Who else we got there? I mean, Joseph has won it twice, so he can't be top 3 again.
He can't be a 3P.
No.
I mean, he's not allowed. I actually had a nightmare about this last night. I was like, what if Joseph gets 3 in a row? No. I love Joseph, but I don't know if I want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Where does that put him?
He's gonna be like, he'll beat P10 or something. Let's put it. It's okay.
Okay,
he's won it
P10. Joseph P10. Got it.
Who else? Now we'll put Palu is gonna be after. I think it's time for him to have a strong one. Yeah, and then say Kyle Larson. That would be cool.
Oh, all right, little Kyle Larson in the top 3. I mean, honestly, I could see it. He'll be good,
and McLaren will be good. So he did a good job last year already. So that's
I'm very curious to see. That would be a big story. Now, I don't want him to win. We can't have him win. But if he's in the top 3, it's still a cool story.
Yeah, I agree with that. He can be second or third. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take that.
I hope he hears this. I hope he's watching this.
Marcus, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. I was trying to I thought I had one more question for you, but Marcus, so I don't know if the people know, but you've been getting jacked up lately. You feel good? Marcus has put on some upper body strength. He's feeling a little bit more muscular. Have we upped our training recently, Marcus? Are we feeling strong?
We're buffing up.
It's buff season.
Yeah, you gotta do something. You gotta do something in the longest off season of the history of sports. So I've gained like 10 pounds since September.
Nice.
So that's a good And luckily when I jumped in the car and tried my belts, it was not all on the belly belt. That was
it wasn't
more
beer
the
weight.
shoulders. Exactly.
No beer bellies over here. Yeah.
I know I've been putting in a lot of work and just changing my training routine a bit, more strength training. Those cars again, like they're so hard to drive and long races. So and you look at the guy we talked about, Justin Newgarden, won twice now the 500, and looked like a Greek god when he's out of the car. So
we saw the commercial. We saw him in the commercial.
There you go. So just trying to bulk up a bit and be a bit bigger. So let's see how he feels in the car. But I don't think it's gonna hurt.
Excellent. Well, this is fun. Predict the Formula One world champion. Let's hear it.
Charles Leclerc.
Oh, your former teammate, huh?
Yeah, let's go.
He's going to win the world championship?
Charles back in action,
Ferrari.
baby.
Old Charlie. All right. That would be funny if he beats Lewis for the world championship. Whew.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
All right. Well, Marcus, we appreciate you being here, man. Thanks for coming to chat with us. Now, again, our deal with IndyCar is that we get to interview race winners of every race. So if you do win again this year, we will get to talk to you again. So hopefully we will
speak to you soon.
We both get wins, but hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Later, man.
Got to say thank you to Marcus Ericsson for being on our program. Really enjoyed talking with someone that has his level of experience. I think a lot of people, when they talked about him getting to Formula One, like, oh, this guy, just paid to be there. Marcus Ericsson is a good driver. I think in GP2 he proved that. Formula One never got a shot with the top team, but did some good work over there, and obviously Indy 500 champion now. He's won races in IndyCar. The guy knows what he's doing. So have a lot of respect for Marcus. I enjoy Marcus as a person, good friend of mine, very good human being overall. So shout out to Marcus. Appreciate you being on the show. Chase, what do you think of that one?
No, I like Marcus is a chill guy. That dude's
Very
got
chill,
really chill vibes, and he's working on the forearm strength, so that's great to hear. He's going to be a buff boy.
All jacked up.
We're
jacked
ready.
up. All right, well, with that, let's get to a very fun segment that I think, it's talked about all across the world, and by that, we can't confirm that, but this is the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
Greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. Who will make up the field?
This week, we went to 1931, the 1931 Indy 500. We went deep into the results pages, very far back into the history. Louis Schneider won this race.
Great guy.
We've mentioned a couple different people in this field before. There's a lot of names that we've seen on our random Indy 500 Driver of the Week list before. Speed Gardner is in this one. Speed Gardner was a Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. But this one is a new one. We found a good one. The 33rd place finisher. Sorry, tough day for George Wingirter. Or Wingirter, George Wingirter in the Duesenberg. Looks like he did not finish the race because of a fuel tank issue. He did 29 laps.
That's a doozy for the Duesenberg.
I assume that's tough if you have a fuel tank that's bad.
Pretty rough.
George Wingirter, again, I love finding these. One Indy 500 for George Wingirter, 1931. That's it. Not a lot of information on the Wikipedia about George Wingirter, but I love finding these. Born September 4th, 1904, died in 1994. Lived a long life, 89.
Dang.
That's impressive. But yeah, only one Indy 500, and there's really no other words about George.
Like,
so
shout out
George.
What did you do after that? Where did you
George,
go? What did you see?
Yeah, what happened? Someone tell us more about George Wingirter. But Wikipedia is our only form of information because it's fun. George Harold Wingirter, shout out you for one Indy 500. We appreciate you, George. R.I.P. George. So
R.I.P.
We appreciate you all. Thanks for listening. Next week, I've been trying to get a cool interview going for us. Maybe not quite IndyCar, but it's kind of cool. But we'll see if that works out for us. But stay tuned. We're fully back. The Dirty Mo media podcasts have been announced all across the board.
Yeah.
Go to their channels to check out how many shows are going to be going on this year. Some new additions to the Dirty Mo roster, which is really cool. And, of course, Denny Hamlin's podcast. You got the DBC folks. You got the Dale Jr. Download. All kinds of every member of the Earnhardt family might have a podcast now, I think, which is kind of cool. A lot of great people over there at that camp. So we appreciate being a part of the family. This is a very, very thankful moment for us. I think it's do we deserve to be a part of this group? Probably not. But we're going to keep trying to make some good podcasts so you all enjoy it. And, we'll see what happens. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I believe that's this weekend. I don't even think we're allowed to say the Super Bowl. The big game. Enjoy the big game.
The big game.
And we will see you next week on Speed Street to cover it all. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.